A completely new view of gender slips into the system without resistance. Many professionals have a fear of being touched. I think this is supposed to be have a fear of touching this because they will not be perceived as intolerant, says Paul Seren, pediatrician at the what's the National Institute of Health. I think
Yes, I
it's
think that's
the
the best
English
translation.
version. A kindergarten told children that you can be any gender you want. Then the girl, age 3, insisted that she was a boy. I want to be a boy, Mom. The little girl was 3 years old. The mother, who wishes to remain anonymous, tells of the period when her 3-year-old talked about being a boy several times, that she did not want her maiden name, and that she was, in fact, a boy. Her parents tried to understand what the feelings were due to and to reflect with her around them, but the 3-year-old insisted. I consider part of her behavior during the period to be a completely natural expression of some of her personality and interests, and perhaps also natural reactions to things she has experienced, says the mother. And she also says that the girl was especially attached to her father at this time, as they had just had a new baby that required a lot of motherly attention. The fact that she repeatedly expressed that she was or would be a boy, I see in retrospect that may have been a result of influence, in a period where she may have been extra vulnerable to it, she continues. At this time, she did not suspect any influence from the kindergarten at all, not until the parents were sent a message that the kindergarten had a special focus on the rainbow and that it symbolized, among other things, that you can be any gender you want. It turned out that the kindergarten tells the children that someone who is born a girl can choose to become a boy, and that this is something that is talked about in the kindergarten. The message gave the parents a feeling of unrest and powerlessness. Do you want to comment on anything before I go?
No, it's a good translation so far. We don't have to read the whole article. It's just until you
Well,
get
it's
to the
pretty
part with
short,
the
so
biftir and
yeah.
the yeah.
Well, I'll just keep reading. I do not know if it was meant that way, but the message felt like a top down message. It was almost like an upbringing of parents who might have to think differently, especially since this message came after the kindergarten had already trained the children for a period of time behind closed doors, which is a really scary thing. Free will not tell what they teach to kindergartens. The Association Free is one of the few actors in Norway that works to ensure that kindergartens and school have activities and schemes that promote the exploration of gender and gender roles. And through Pink Competence, Free offers, according to itself, professional assistance in teaching about gender and sexual diversity to the school and the kindergarten sector. So this is two. Well, at least one of them is an NGO. I think the Pink Competence is like a task force, quote unquote.
No, Pink Competence is just one of the programs that the
Oh, it's a
association
program, right?
free
Yeah.
has. Like that's one of the services they offer to schools and different organizations, and they've been doing that since the early 2000s. I think in like 2007 is when they started to formalize that system and just offer Pink Competence to like these more elementary, like elementary schools and kindergartens, like these institutions with younger individuals.
Right. Due to the family's anonymity, Minerva has not contacted the Oslo kindergarten to confirm that the Pink Competence has trained the employees. However, Minerva has asked Free about which kindergartens in Oslo the organization has taught, but it does not answer. They say they cannot state where they have held courses without it being clarified with the individual kindergarten. Minerva has also asked Free if we can look at course material used in the teaching. Free answers that they do not want to share the content with anyone other than those who have participated in the course. The reason is that the presentations must be understood in the light of the course content in general, which is should tell you enough about what this contains, I think.
It's
Oh
the
no, no, we
open
can't give it to you.
society, the not so open society. Is that if you haven't been brainwashed already, we can't show you the material.
Yeah, you
It's
might
like
get the wrong idea.
third stage brainwashing, and you need to do the first courses.
Yeah,
We
it's
recommend that you're familiar
Scientology.
with the.
You're
We
not at the
recommend
correct level. Yeah.
not familiar with the material, so this is advanced brainwashing. Sorry, this is for your own good.
And when asked whether the organization teaches kindergarten employees to tell children that they can choose which gender they want, Free answers that talking about, among other things, gender, gender identity, and gender expression is in line with the framework plan's point on equality and inequality. Let me see what the translation is here. Equality and equity, I
Yeah,
suppose, is the translation.
that seems right.
Boof Deer, which is a shorthand, recommends pink competence without knowing what is being taught. The Directorate for Children, Youth and Families finances pink competence. They do this both indirectly by supporting Free with just under 5 million Norwegian kroner operating support operating support, but also directly with 1.2 million Norwegian kroner for parts of pink expertise investments. So in dollars, I suppose you can just, shorthand divide that by like 10 or maybe
Yeah,
8.
just divide it by 10 or move the comma. So, I mean, in terms of, for those of you who don't know what Bufdir is, that's like the Directorate of Family Affairs in Norway. So it's actually a very large organization. They have the
Yes.
responsibility for like the child care services, like foster home services, and like family planning, family education, and so on. It's really big.
Yes, it's quite a large organization. When Minerva asks the Directorate for Children, Youth and Families if the Directorate encourages Norwegian kindergartens to use pink competence initiatives, the department director answers, "We generally encourage all schools and kindergartens to increase their competence and security in gender and sexual diversity, as among other things, the framework plan for the kindergarten proposes." And she continues, "Courses from the pink competence are one such way of increasing this competence," which is a non-answer. That's basically yes.
Yeah, no, they're being incredibly secretive about this
Yeah,
stuff, and I'll get back to that later in the presentation. But that's kind of the MO of this organization.
yeah.
I mean, they have just like an incredible sort of will to power. A lot of these people who are in here, and they're quite aware that what they're doing is not optically sound. So
So
they are
you
going to
guys in the
just yeah,
chat, you
yeah.
should pay attention because you might learn something about how to operate.
Yeah, you might learn something. Like, this is one of the I'll get back to that, but this is one of the interesting parts here. I mean, we can follow an organization from just being this kind of underground basement conspiracy organization to actually being like the main like meta political institution for, well, all types of policy that's regarding this sort of sexual and sexual identity matters that can just kind of squeeze politicians and pretty much every company and every institution. And there's a lot of Machiavellian strategy that's gone into this, and a lot of chutzpah. Let's just say that. So you can just finish
Yes.
up the article.
Nerva has asked if the family directorate has quality checked the courses for pink competence that are held in schools and kindergartens. The directorate states that they have not done so and refers Minerva, the journalist, to the Directorate of Education, which is responsible for this teaching. But when Minerva hears from the Directorate of Education, the answer is that it is not the Directorate of Education's role to recommend which resources schools and kindergartens should use. So no one has quality checked this thing. No one has decided that this thing should be part of kindergarten education, yet it's everywhere.
Yep. No, it's
It's an
very
emergent phenomena.
it's emergence, bro. Like, I mean, it might, in some sense, it might just be emergent, but it's really interesting how these liberal systems operate, where something is just everywhere and nobody has any responsibility for it. I mean, of course, this is nonsense, but they kind of know that this is optically terrible, so they're just playing dumb. That's what I believe.
Yeah, I don't think anyone in any position of power would be like, "Yeah, we're indoctrinating your 3-year-old kid. What about it?"
Not
So
yet.
they're gonna just pass the buck until they're not in trouble anymore. So now they are interviewing a pediatrician who says it is a toxic message. Free will not show the content from the kindergarten courses, nor from the school course. Pink Competence, however, has a freely available teaching program for primary and lower secondary school. Here you will find, for example, statements such as for the first to fourth year children in schools, remember that not all people have a gender identity as either boy or a girl. This can be nice to mention when teaching about gender. From year 5 to 7 in school, many boys have penises and many girls have a clitoris, but not all. And from year 8 to 10, which is, I suppose, middle school, remember that everyone decides their own gender identity and that not everyone has a gender identity that corresponds to the gender one was registered at birth. This content makes Paul Suran, pediatrician and researcher at the Department of Child Health and Development at the National Institute of Public Health, respond. It is not just pointless, it is also a toxic message, he says about Free's teaching program. Suran himself has, among other things, been responsible for the National Institute of Public Health's consultation statement on the national guideline for the treatment of gender incongruence. And he believes that the impression left behind when Free claims that children can choose their own gender is that, for example, girls who deviate from gender norms are not really girls, or that they at least ask questions about their own gender. So is this like a tomboy appreciator? That's the meme about like they're brainwashing our
we
tomboys
we
into
we
being
love our
transgender.
tomboys. So
That's a comment from Nordan on here.
yeah, it is.
Gender confirming treatment, I do not like that word,
There we
is
go again.
legal
There's
and
that word.
available in Norway, and the school system should also teach of it. But it is something other than giving children information that is biologically crazy and gives them a perception that you're not really a boy or a girl if you have behaviors and interests that are not typical of your biological gender, Søren continues. I feel he's a bit milquetoast, this guy. Like, I feel his argument is basically, I want to go back to 2010.
Yeah,
Which
that's
is
like all of them. I think that's they feel that's the price of admission.
Yeah, I think
For
maybe
speaking.
that's it. Like he's not like cathedral wise allowed to go harder than this, but it just infuriates me that you know a liberal is arguing with a liberal about you're being too liberal and we should be slightly less liberal.
Yes, I think he doesn't want to lose his job. He wants to say something. I do
Well, yeah,
appreciate him just for saying something. I think a lot of these people just have to articulate themselves like that, and they have to preface, yeah, I'm totally on board with the progressive project, but going a little fast here, guys. It's a little bumpy. We gotta slow it down so that everybody's nice and comfortable, and we can have like real gender fluidity in 2050 or something. That's kind of the criticism that you can actually give.
yes. As Yanner 95 says, is a back to Fresh Prince. That's an academic agentism, isn't it? The gender norm paradox. The pediatrician believes that if one is to help those who break with gender norms, one does not do so by saying that they do not fit into the framework of the gender to which they belong biologically. You do it rather by telling them that the framework should also include them, which is, that this is literally feminism from like 10 years ago.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
what
we
it
talked
is.
about this already.
And
Yeah.
that's what they're growing up on. But I mean, we're getting to this stuff. Like I just like to explain it. Like this is like Windows 8 versus Windows 10. It's
Yeah.
like these people just have the last operating system, and they're arguing about semantic
Suran
things.
here is angry about Windows 11.
Yep.
Yeah. Suran also points to an underlying paradox. It's pink competence that actually demonstrates the narrow understanding of gender, even though they claim to the opposite. And that's because they quickly jump to the conclusion that a girl might actually be a boy if they do not fit into typical gender patterns. Again, it's 2010 feminism meeting
We're
2020 feminism.
this is not this is not real this
This
is
is
not real
bizarre.
feminism.
Yeah. Basically, it is good that the framework is expanded for what is allowed for boys and girls. It is great that it
No,
is allowed to try out different gender expressions,
no.
but when this is connected to the fact that one is born with the wrong biological sex, the phenomenon gets a dark underside. it is not just about experimentation and exploration anymore. Some may also be influenced to initiate irreversible changes to their bodies. It may help aggravate the occurrence of gender dysphoria. Who is it that prepares the teaching work for pink competence? Asks Suren, the pediatrician. Which professionals have been involved? The scheme conveys an understanding of gender that differs from that on which medicine and biology are otherwise based. So, I mean, here he's asking a question which he's never going to get an answer to. He's asking the cathedral who's calling the shots, and the answer, of course, is no one because that's how it works. Um, but the second one we talked a bit about in the rank punditer stream, where he's arguing that, well, this isn't the science, and unfortunately this is the science. It's just
Yeah, it is
you're part of the
gender
STEM
science.
fields, my dude. Um, but the STEM fields aren't the one who's deciding this stuff.
I mean, if just to steal, man, you have a lot of these liberals who are actually, attached up to this, Karl Popper open society concept, and like on its own, it is actually a strong position. At least, it's easy for us to kind of sit here and try to out edge each other and see who can be the most right wing and who wants the most like Sharia law and stuff. But if you're getting in a room with adults and you have to actually explain a position, uh, like this is the frame that a lot of people are going to be in, like these more quote unquote sensible liberals, that they have
That's
the like
true,
the
but
actual
I
sort of
think
open society, like that's the kind of pejorative now in our circles because of the Open Society Foundation and Soros.
that's
But
probably a way to get your foot in the door when
yeah,
talking to an NPC, so to speak.
yeah,
But I do think if you get people on one-on-one terms, and you tell them that these people are trying to tell 3-year-olds that they're born in the wrong body, everyone will agree that this is absolutely insane and it's wrong and evil. Most people, right? Unless
yeah,
you
I
sit next to like a complete lefty.
yeah, they could, these people are very flexible. We see that with the media now,
Well,
is that
fair enough. It's
you can
probably,
sit and push
depending
them,
on
and
your.
I don't really know, like, where their actual moral compass goes, but I don't think that's a controversial thing to say, that I'm against 3-year-olds being told that they can
No, but that's
change
the weird
genders.
thing, right? That's the weird power of the system we live in, where you can have that conversation with a person one on one, and they'll still sort of toe the line in a societal sense, right?
Yep.
Everyone will individually agree that this is strange and evil and pedophilic and etc etc, but then because the paper says so, no one will speak up.
Yeah, I don't have a rival paper. I don't have I don't have 100 newspapers that agree with me. So I don't have my own
Yeah.
like I don't have my own Buffet or anything. I just have
Oh,
like
I don't.
Joe Rogan and
Just build
some
just
articles
build
on
your own
Facebook.
directorate of health. Yeah. Jesus. People are talking about back to flexness in the chat. That's probably something I should get Vingle to do do a do a stream on that. If we have Leo to do some Swedish stuff, and we get Burkarl to do Moomin, then we have like a trifecta of good old
Yeah,
lore.
that's safe for YouTube content. I kind of like that. I want to go back to watching Moomin now.
Yeah. Okay, let's keep going. Seren believes that it is special to let that is something special to let an activist organization take responsibility for this teaching without quality assurance from any academic institutions. According to Seren, such a choice presupposes an assumption that Free has an unproblematic view of sexuality and gender. But the vast majority of physicians will believe that this understanding is contrary to basic medical and biological knowledge, he says. Again, the majority of physicians, unquote, is not the people who decides this.
No,
So
but
that's
even in their case, you can get physicians to believe a lot of retarded stuff, and you see that throughout
that too.
history.
A completely new view of gender slips into the system and is established without any resistance. Many professionals have anxiety to touch this because they will not be perceived, or they will be perceived as reactionary or intolerant. Good.
Yes,
more
that's the
more
yes,
reactionary and,
yes,
and
Chad. They don't
intolerance.
want to be they don't want to be the yes, Chad.
Yeah.
Here.
And this is problematic, for the incidence of gender dysphoria has increased significantly in the recent years, and without knowing exactly what the cause is. And it is especially teenage girls who seek healthcare. I mean, yeah, we don't know what it is because everything has stayed the same the past 10 years and
Yeah.
nothing has changed. And it's just, this just started happening out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's been I read the statistic that it's from 2012 it's been doubling every year.
Yeah.
So
It's,
yeah, but yeah, I guess
we don't
nothing's
know why
changed.
this is happening.
There's nothing that's changed in the culture or anything. So,
No.
but I guess I don't have the backwards regression analysis studies. So, well, I can't do anything.
And, you don't
Sorry.
have like a peer-reviewed source.
Yeah.
You can't stop noticing things with your own eyes, bigot. One can think that this teaching program can help reinforce this trend. One plants a notion that something is wrong and needs to be changed. Um, just some boilerplate about who's getting the money.
Yeah.
Do you want to read the response?
Nah, I
No,
don't think we should. I didn't plan for that.
it's
I
just
mean, it's just going to be
politician
infuriating.
speech.
It's politician speak from the guy you see on the right there, who's like the responsible, tough guy with the arms crossed. Of course, it's just politician speak, but they have pretty good PR,
Yeah.
and he doesn't even look retarded. Like, I mean, he looks like an actual serious man with like he's got the business casual shirt
Yeah,
on
this guy
there.
here on
There's
the
no blue
right.
hair or no strings or any kind of like
Yeah.
dysgenic features or anything. Like he looks like a serious representative.